Okay. First of all, I just want to say thank you, God. Um, and I need to be thankful. And uh, as bad as things are for me, I understand that it's gonna get worse too. But I just need to be thankful because, like, I'm just thinking of what's worse than what I'm going through, and what I'm going to be going through. And the truth is, there's only one thing that I can imagine worse than that, that what I'm going to go through and what I'm going through. And is to live a life where I'm healthy, able to do whatever I want, but um, do this foulness. It's so easy. I call it easy evil. Right? This trash do this evil, horrible things to us, and it's super easy. Because the reality of what this is really about is that we're test subject. We are test subject. I've been saying that I knew that that's what we are, and I never had doubt that this is what we were after figuring it out. And the clowns that they surround us by is also part of this manipulations, part of this way they implement this this test, not even the test, but they develop this technology. It's part of this psychological manipulation. I mean, at this point, target individual, we have all the validation that we obviously know this is governmental entities doing that to you. The facade is really trying to make you believe that this is anything by you, but it's a facade that's very well organized in that fashion because that's what it's supposed to be doing. Or it's supposed to make you think in these different ways, because you see them like, oh, of course, this is this kind of group of people, so they're different. And the truth is, for me, it's been too comical. It's like what retardation of reality do you think I'm? Like, don't you feel like sometimes I'm like, are they so like shameless to the point where I could just imagine myself trying to play this game, like do what they do, and have to still dumb somebody down. It's like, no, this is our money. It's like, I'm like, they truly have to have like a mentality of a child. I don't know where they get. I guess it's one of the strength, the ability to just put themselves on the spectrum in regard of logic, and they come in all shape or form. I experience. I expect the younger people doing that. Sometimes I see like grown ass women about to get married, acting be on the spectrum. That I'm like, wait, what stupidity of life. And I just started understanding. Okay, it's maybe the group state of mind, but this is what I'm listening to is just too obvious. Like, how can you make me think that this is not what I'm listening to? Like, I know your job is to paint this reality that's so falsified. And you know what I'm going to do. You know how horrible the things you're involved in too. So like what's the point? I know what you're involved in. I know the horribleness of what you're involved. How are you able to even try to block that out? The kids, the childlike people, the people on the spectrum, I get it. Look at them. That's what you expect. Trust, that's that. These perps are still coming out of their apartments as contracted to disorient me. It's our money. It's this and that. You know why they've been super vocal? Is because obviously this is some old stuff. I don't even know why. I think it's because they want to have these battles. I think it's just part of this, like, seeing how they can make me still think in this stupidity ways. But okay, this is something I had there for a while. I knew this is why I'm so strong in all throughout this moment. I was like, this is governmental entities. But in fact, I know obviously DARPA has been working on that. I've been saying that word today is not changing what the 1,000 videos I've made, because I've been saying the same thing. Well, I'm going to show the videos, I guess, and that's going to be different. Here's some more horrible torture of a woman. Megan talk about how she's getting tortured in this disgusting, horrible way, using this technology, super sophisticated. Not the medieval way, the modern way, with the modern technology. Nothing new. I think in their mind they forgot that this is just old stuff that I already knew. It's just things that's been said before, and it's been said again in different fashion, but people in new versions of it. It's the same. I guess it's harder to play, like stay in character sometimes when they listen to that. Target individual for me, you know, it's been foul throughout the day. They make me, and I'll make a video about it. There was like a kid that's like a 12, 13-year-old. They made me have this like this sensation, and I think I'll make a video maybe tomorrow. And there's like this like red-headed little like 13-year-old, 12-year-old, and they like try to give me this sensation, stimulation, and like feelings. And it was just like a concoction of emotions and reaction that they played with to make me experience what I'm experiencing. It's like I feel so much like a guinea pig that my brain, my mind is being floated, and to the point where when they do this thing, sometimes I can literally feel like the brain, something hitting my brain. Like I feel like a little soreness in my brain, as if like my brain is just contracted in certain ways. And I'm like, man, they really are working my brain to get this kind of reaction. And I showed this video. It's like a 13 years ago, and they're like, oh, you think it's very good for her, the baby. And dude, it got to the point where this technology has such a refined ways of just trying to make you think certain ways. You know how like they even make me think of how I would perceive this kid if I was a kid the same age. If I was like, I had a crush on this kid when I was a kid about the same age. Or when like you know when you watch movies like and it's like movies about like young love of like, you know, puppy love, they were kids, and like it's very like wholesome, and like it's like you know, and they fall in love, and it almost bring you to like also you as a child, right? But you don't have the stimulation, but you just got like this nostalgia of you being a child if you were. But they add this with like a sexual stimulation and a sensation that's different. I'm like, what the hell? It's like they concoct reactions to create the proper reaction for you to have this reaction toward children. It's so weird. It's just a weird way of like just rewiring the brain. And then they also give you the feeling of like, okay, but if you're a kid about the same age in like in primary school, how would you see it? And then they give you like, it's crazy the way they just play around with your brain for you to get some kind of reaction. I showed this kid the way they put that together is just amazing. As I'm saying that via this V2K technology, right? They tell me how I'm gonna be shot because they're gonna execute me. They, at this point, torture for them is becoming a way to disorient me from reality. This is more than that. I guess before I get tortured, I was supposed to be identified to this manipulation. This is why things gets annoying to them sometimes, right? Because, you know, things like that, which this is somewhat old, you know, but it just kind of shows that there's been all along, you know, obvious validation that
some good evidence that Cheryl Welch and many of the other people I've spoken with have been victimized by this electromagnetic mind control experiments. The weapons of this century aren't bombs and bullets and ordnance, but electromagnetic energy targeting the human being, which is the greatest revolution in military affairs since gunpowder. Begich is an expert in government mind control. He is convinced the Pentagon has mastered a technology once thought to be science fiction. The ability to broadcast information directly into the human brain. Our government began spending a lot of time looking at how to modify behavior of human beings, going back to the Korean War. In fact, in a publication, Low Intensity Conflict in Modern Technology, they have a chapter on electromagnetic weapon systems, being able to not just debilitate someone, but actually even to stimulate certain activities within the brain. But how? HARP is the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project, which started as a joint effort of the Air Force and Navy. This is a very large array or as HARP can also be used for more sinister ends. HARP has announced several other programs and campaigns, and there's two areas that I got very concerned about. One was weather modification applications. The other was the effect on human beings. If you can modulate a signal that the brain locks onto, recognizes, and begins to mirror or follow the frequency following response, the brain rhythms change, then it creates a chemical cascade within the brain and the emotions change. Now the resolution gets finer and finer and finer. And it used to just to be about triggering emotions. You could change people's brain chemistry pretty readily, change their emotional state pretty easily. But when you get down to the idea of thoughts, being able to manipulate those, that requires a different kind of sophistication. Can we hear sounds?
I mean, I'm supposed to think that, I'm supposed to think that I'm not being manipulated. That my thought process is not being manipulated. This emotions, sensations, stimulations are not forced onto me. When this is all I've been saying, but obviously this is old. They give me emotions, stimulations, sensations. My thought can change. My perception changes. And obviously this was in 2012. Talking about it. Can you imagine how advanced? Just remember the phone you had in 2012. Or the best phone in 2012 now imagine technology-wise in regard to DARPA. But the way when they call about HARP, I didn't know HARP was actually, it was the Air Force, I believe. Then the Air Force gave it to the DARPA, but I guess it was too much of a it was too much of an issue, and it looks too bad that DARPA gave it to the University of Alaska, where they are contracting them to do a project for them, so they kind of using them to cover up what they work on. So I'm like, I know this manipulation, the way you make me perceive these kids, however young they are, these babies, these babies, these pre-teen babies, the way you play my brain and change and make me have these thoughts in these ways. And I swear, when they do that, I do feel something in my brain is leaking. I feel like something is just being released in my brain. I feel it. And it's like they've tried to perfect the right concoction of whatever to have the right. That's what we are. Just test subjects in these ways, and the manipulations, this pedophilia type of torture is what they do. Because you heard what he called it, weapons. Those are the weapons. The future, cognitive weapons. He goes into he wrote books about this, and he's an educated man, he's some kind of scholar kind of person, and he calls it out. Let me just bring this up.
But the research goes back over 50 years. The first things that we published, Angels Don't Play This Harp with Gene Manning, external fields of all kinds for radio frequency. You can look at the radio frequency. External fields of all kinds for radio frequency. You can look at the Radio Frequency Dosimetry Handbook, 1986, University of Utah, produced for the Air Force. It gives you the resonant frequencies for each vital organ so that you can send in a radio signal that will couple with the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, and cause them to malfunction so that you can degrade the performance of your adversary. The new weapon systems being developed today will attack the mind, the body, and our physiology on an energetic level.
How would you attack the mind? What would you make somebody experience if this is a weapon? You make that person have this disgusting reaction. But he also mentioned something else that is not just the mind, but the body.
Organs so that you can send in a radio signal that will couple with the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, and cause them to malfunction so that you can degrade the performance of your adversary. The new weapon systems being developed today will attack the mind, the body, and our physiology on an energetic level. Now, bullets and bombs. It's a perfect Republican weapon. No offense to Republicans here, but you don't want to destroy.
The body. First of all, my organs are destroyed. They destroy my organs. There's no cuts. So they are, like he mentioned, and this is the older stuff, the older technology, talking about how they in the 80s already like creating the right frequencies to target the organs. Without a bullet, nothing. This is in the 80s. Today is even more precise and refined and that's the technology that we're just test subject to when you hear this woman. And Megan, this woman is, I think I'm starting to start, they start playing my eyesight. So vision is going to be, I'm going to start seeing things that's probably not going to be there. But I expected that at some point. So it kind of, it makes it easy to deal with something when you know that this is something that they can do. I already know that all kind of hallucinations can come up, and I can expect at some point to be fully on. Because I've heard the testimonials, and I knew they were playing my eyesight and make me have perception that was just crazy at times. It was crazy. It's like they made things change appearance. I think, you know the condition when people look at themselves in different fashion, right? They might think they're too fat when they're really skinny, right? But in their eyes, they think they're like super fat. I forgot the terminology. I'm having issues speaking as my brain is being ravaged, but they're playing with my brain. And what he mentioned is the weapons of the future can do things like that. What's happening to this woman is the person who's doing that to her is not in her presence. This is the technology that he's talking about. That's what this technology can do to us. And they just see how they can perfect what they can do, the kind of damage, how they can degrade the human being slowly. It's also, they always try to create also stress. I think it helps with the with the manipulations. You know, one thing they have to do first, and you know how they usually say, oh, we're mapping, to be able to manipulate you first, before the manipulation, they map your brain, they figure your brain, okay, this is there, this is there, this is there, and then we can start playing with that. We're gonna make you feel like this, that, this, and start playing, controlling and making you experience these things. And they use these perps to try to gaslight you to accepting these things. That you know it's like this, no way. Matter of fact, my brain is feeling like something's happening to my brain. And they tell you, you know, they use gaslighting methods and fear tactic to get you to accept this. Or they're going to cut you, they'll rape you, they'll do this and that. Well, whatever's going to happen to me, it's going to happen to me, but I will never identify with this manipulation. I know this, what the technology is able to do. You know, at one point, he was talking about how, like, there's different, like, you know, hertz, or what, I forgot the metrics he used, or the to say, like, we are able to go into trance. We can really zone in, zone out. We can, like, go into, like, and for me it's been like that a lot. And what they do, right, they make me think of some disgusting reaction, they make me think experience, and then zone me out, and it will zone me in somehow, put me in some kind of trance, and I go into, like, that weird state of mind that they put me in, And then they make some noise campaign. Oh, you're gonna pay. And it's like, what the? It's like, I know what you're just doing. You put me in that trance state after making me experience some disgusting things, and then you slam the door. It's like, oh, pay, it's you. It's like, no, you try to make me identify with this manipulation by doing these things. And he said something about like, there's a level for like, when you're like almost like in sleepy states, but like, fully, and he's like, kids between 3 to 5 are in that state. And then immediately around 3 to 5, they start making me have sexual stimulation, and they try to make me think, remember what you did when you were a kid. I'm like, listen, I'm not a kid, I'm not a child, and this is not how we react, okay? And they like try to then make me think, now you pay for what you did as a kid. Do you know, I know you tortured children, by the way. Do you know this woman, what she described, has been applied to children in some version of it, some sexual torture where you target private part. I know you torture babies as young as 3 years old, sexually, like this woman. Okay, not like this woman, but targeting the private part. I know what you do to kids. And the way they make me think today, when they make me look at these babies, the little girls, whatever it is, and even me saying that, they stimulate me, is these tactics of controlling my emotions, my reactions. This man is one of many
telepathy. There were 2 contracts led to the University of California by DARPA, which does primarily classified military research. One for analyzing the brain at a distance by looking at the complex signals emanating from a brain and then being able to interpret those signals, which requires enormous computing power in order to accomplish this. And then secondly, taking that information that's acquired there and then creating signals that are complex signals that can then be rebroadcast into another brain, giving the person that kind of communication.
What he's saying is DARPA has been working on some technology, according to paperwork, that captures somebody's brain, gave the signals, whatever the emotion and reaction, whatever that is in that person's brain, and put it back in somebody else's brain, some version like that. But obviously, if they can capture yours, play with it, and put it back, they do the same thing. That's what this man says in different ways with EEG heterodyning.
Designed to interact with the human nervous system in order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG, and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions or bodily functions for that matter. The other more recent term we have for that is EEG heterodyning or EEG cloning. The difference between EEG heterodyning and EEG cloning would be, let's say me remotely receiving your EEG and then duplicating it and putting that in another person to give them your same thoughts.
That's what the guy said initially.
Feelings or physical reactions. EEG heterodyning would be receiving your EEG, manipulating it to put it back inside your head to give us a desired physical reaction or emotional reaction.
And this
in 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day.
This is on History Channel, and when this guy was saying this here in this show.
Citizens being controlled by government-sanctioned experiments. Is Cheryl Welsh telling the truth, or are her claims absurd? Just another conspiracy theory that's impossible to prove. Maybe. But not if you listen to Nick Begich.
I think there's some good evidence that Cheryl Welsh and many of the other people I've spoken with have been victimized by this electromagnetic mind control experiments. The weapons of this century aren't bombs and bullets and ordnance, but electromagnetic energy targeting the human being, which is the greatest revolution in military affairs since gunpowder.
Begich is an expert in government mind control. He is convinced the Pentagon has mastered a technology once thought to be science fiction, the ability to broadcast information directly into the human brain.
Our government began spending a lot of time looking at how to modify behavior of human beings, going back to the Korean War. In fact, in a publication, Low Intensity Conflict in Modern Technology, they have a chapter on electromagnetic weapon systems being able to not just debilitate someone, but actually even to stimulate certain activities within the brain. But how? HARP is the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project, which started as a joint effort of the Air Force and Navy. This is a very large array or field of antennas based on Alaska radio frequency antennas.
HARP antennas transmit powerful radio signals into the upper atmosphere to study the effects on wireless communications. But Begich says HARP can also be used for more sinister ends.
HARP has announced several of their programs and campaigns, and there's two areas that I got very concerned about. One was weather modification applications. The other was the effect on human beings. If you can modulate a signal that the brain locks onto, recognizes, and begins to mirror or follow the frequency following response, the brain rhythms change, then it creates a chemical cascade within the brain, and the emotions change. Now the resolution gets finer and finer and finer. And it used to just to be about triggering emotions. You can change people's brain chemistry pretty readily, change their emotional state pretty easily. But when you get down to the idea of thoughts and being able to manipulate those, that requires a different kind of sophistication.
Can we use science?
This man said he used to be able to change emotion pretty easily. To give me give a person a reaction, a sensation, stimulation, and emotion pretty easily, like it's nothing. And now he's like, now the thing is today is to another level. It's another level of sophistication. Now we talk about thought processes. Now we talk about perceptions being manipulated. We're talking about another level of sophistication. That's just not the stimulation that they can force us to have disgusting, but now start playing with your brain, your perceptions. It gets to another deeper level. There's levels to like, oh my gosh, like the stimulation immediately you feel like a feeling, a sensation, stimulation. Then your thought process is another level. And then it goes back to what this man here said.
That you play voices into an individual's head. And once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare.
And unfortunately, that's the things we go through. They are altering who we are as human beings and changing us, and it's disgusting. And they have very specific ways, as I bring that up. These ways of making us think toward children, so disgusting. And every time they make me experience this thing, they try to make me experience that, having that same experience when I was a child. Like, it's so nasty. But that's the things I'm going to go deal with. And then of course the facade, I keep forgetting. They still try to make themselves think that this is anything but this massive government that's been working on this technology since who knows what this 50s, 60s. Two more talking visuals, stay strong.